Hi, this is the video where I'm going to talk to you about manifestos. So, you've probably heard the term manifesto before. You might even know a lot about it. But a manifesto is a statement of belief with intent, right? So, it's not just saying, here's what I believe, but a manifesto wants to convince its reader to believe the same thing and then to do something about it. And that could even be anything from like inciting a revolution against the bourgeoisie, or just, hey, you should give money to me. Sorry, my cats are getting rowdy. Or even to incite somebody to do a protest, something like that, right? It wants you to believe the same thing. You've probably heard of the Communist Manifesto before. Our boy Karl Marx, also Friedrich Engels, helped wrote that. Most people forget about him, but it is Marx and Engels who wrote the Communist Manifesto. We're not going to read that, but maybe you should. It's kind of an interesting document. This is not an endorsement. It's just pretty well written. So, manifestos, what are they? A manifesto, like I said, is a statement of belief with intent. So, it is also a deliberate manipulation of the public view. This is by a woman named Marianne Kosh. She wrote a book on manifestos. So, at its most endearing, a manifesto has a madness about it. It is peculiar and quirky and angry or downright crazed, always opposed to something particular or general. It not only has to be striking, but to stand up straight. The manifesto is by nature a loud genre. It is often noisy in its appearance, like a typographical alarm or an implicit rebel yell. It calls for capital letters, loves bigness, and demands attention. It is also as if defining a moment of crisis. The manifesto generally proclaims what it wants to oppose, to lead, to defend, to change. Which is all of this is to say that manifestos are intense documents. They have charisma to them. They have oomph. They have chutzpah. I think that's one of the words you could also use, right? But it's not a subtle document, and it shouldn't be, because it's trying to convince you of something. So when it comes to writing your own, think about how dynamic you can possibly be. Use all caps, use bold letters, use different fonts, use colors, use images. A manifesto is supposed to capture you and convince you of something about what the crisis is in the world. So, what to ask yourself while writing your own manifesto? How does your manifesto articulate a vision of truth? And that's kind of a fancy way of saying, what does your manifesto believe to be true about the world? What is the status quo that your cult wants to disrupt? Which is to say, your manifesto believes something is wrong with the world, and then it wants to offer a way to fix that problem. What does it want the world to look like, and how can your manifesto explain that? How does your manifesto want to create that world? So what are its tactics? Is it armed revolution? Is it protests? Is it buying a lot of your product? Right? Like, it wants to change the world, and it wants to tell you how to do it. Who does your manifesto want to reach? Who is your audience? Because people believe different things. Do you want to reach out to teenagers? Do you want to reach out to different ethnic groups? Do you want to reach out to different classes? Who is your audience, right? And then what matters to your cult right here and right now? What is most important to your cult? Yeah, because you're going to be designing a cult, which we'll cover what a cult is in another video. But once again, you want to make your manifesto a strong statement of belief, because at its core, that's what a manifesto is. It's a statement of your belief with intent. So what do you want people to believe after having read it? So for example, with Marx and Engels, with the Communist Manifesto, they wanted you to believe something about how the world works, how class politics work, how labor works. And whether or not you agree with them, the Communist Manifesto still is a statement of belief with intent. It is meant to incite a revolution. And that's kind of like a big boy manifesto, right? That's a big boy. But it's a generally well understood example.